Good evening and welcome to Gender Trailblazers, presented by Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras in partnership with Amnesty International Australia and the Carmen Rupert Memorial Trust. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy an evening of incredible conversation, interspersed with wonderful performances as we celebrate the remarkable lives of 3 transgender trailblazers who truly embody the courage of the human spirit.
And Fran and I are the co-chairs of Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and paying my respects to their elders past and present, and extending that acknowledgement and respect to all other nations and peoples represented here tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge the LGBTQI community and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and in particular those members of the trans community who we're here for tonight. Last year we had an event in this room, actually. Wasn't it this room? Yeah, it was this room. And we had a couple of speakers at our first ever Gender Trailblazers, which was an absolutely amazing success. And after last year, I didn't think that we would be able to top it. I've been lucky enough to actually see a little bit of the sound check and a little bit of what you're going to be in for tonight. And to Kelly and Kaitlin and the team, you never cease to amaze me in terms of what you can actually pull out of the hat and what you can actually produce. It's promising to be absolutely fantastic. And to me, that exemplifies the passion that exists within the trans community. Mardi Gras' mission is about teaching the world to love each other through the power and beauty of diversity. And to me, much of that power and beauty comes from within the trans community, where you express your passion. We heard stories of resilience today. You know, I was sitting in tears listening to young Miles tell his story. It was absolutely very deep and very emotional. It was amazing. And with that, you bring depth and you bring colour, more so, I think, than any other part of our community, because of the sometimes flamboyant nature and the beauty that comes along with what trans represents. However, we heard stories today, and with that comes its troubles and your unfair share of challenges that we all have to face. So, you know, greater incidences of depression, greater instances of mental health and suicide. And yesterday we spoke on the steps at Town Hall about the murder in October of Mayang Preseo, and also the fact that there is on average one murder of a trans person in the US per week. So if somebody wants to jot that down and send it off to Jermaine Greer, feel free. Over the last couple of years, Fran and myself and the rest of the board and Michael, the CEO, and the staff are really, really proud and really happy about how we have re-energized the relationship that Mardi Gras and the trans community has. And we're very, very proud that that grows stronger and stronger every year. And again, thank you, Kelly and Kaitlin, for championing the cause on that. Thank you. And it really, what is surprising, it is the relationship has not been about what Mardi Gras can do for the trans community. It is what the trans community has done for Mardi Gras. I'm delighted to see that we have, you know, up to 100 of our volunteers here today. That's absolutely amazing. So thank you, volunteers, for coming along. So to you as a community and from Mardi Gras, thank you for the education. Thank you for the inspiration that you bring, and thank you for your passion. So you've heard me name drop there a couple of times, and Kelly, if you want to put your hand up, Kelly is our representative on the board. And I'm now going to hand over to the beautiful Kaitlin Hall, who is the chair of our Trans and Gender Diverse Working Group. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Trans and Gender Diverse Working Group of Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, I would like to welcome you to the second Gender Trailblazers. Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras has a passion for greater trans inclusion. In how Mardi Gras, the world's foremost LGBTIQ festival. A trans and gender diverse working group was established in 2013 to bring this vision to fruition through engaging with the broader trans community. That vision became real last year at the inaugural Gender Trailblazers, where we were treated to a wonderful night that celebrated two great people from the trans community. Tonight's event promises to be even better. I would like to extend an open invitation and a challenge to my community to help us bring to life Gender Trailblazers and the many other trans activities planned for next year. We are passionate to make a difference for the trans community and help educate the broader population on the trans experience. Transphobia is real, despite assertions otherwise. With the help of allies such as Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, we as a community can secure for ourselves and our future generations the innate human right to self-determine gender and sexuality. On behalf of the entire trans community, I would like to thank Paul and Fran, the co-chairs of Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, for their inspiring leadership in giving the trans community a far greater voice in Mardi Gras. Thank you.
Our first guest this evening is a multi-award-winning American actress, musician, songwriter, author, and activist who did amazing work as a consultant to Hollywood on trans representation in film and television, and was acknowledged by Janet Leto at the 2014 Oscars. Please welcome to the stage, all the way from Hollywood, California, screen siren, global LGBTIQ icon, and trans advocate par excellence, Calpurnia Sarah Addams.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much to Sydney, Australia, to the Mardi Gras committee, to everyone who's brought me out here. I'm going to do my best to give my all to you tonight. And I'd like to start out my shows with a song from a fellow world traveler who settled in Hollywood, made famous by Marlene Dietrich so many years ago. And now let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen here, but technology's hard. All right. Here we go. Jewelry's got to come off first. You know how it is, right? All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Want to buy an illusion slightly used, second hand. They were lovely illusions, reaching high, built on sand. They had a touch of paradise, a spell you can't explain. But in this crazy paradise, you are in love with pain. Wanna buy an illusion, slightly used, just like new. They were lovely illusions, and they're all about you. I'd sell them all for a penny. They make lovely souvenirs. Won't you take my illusions, some for laughs and some for tears? Slightly used, just like new. They were lovely illusions, and they're all about you. I'd sell them all for a penny. They make lovely souvenirs. Won't you take my illusions, some for laughs and some for tears?
Our host for this evening's event is an accomplished counselor and specialist with a PhD in gender identity, who presented and published papers and workshops locally and internationally on gender identity. Please welcome to the stage the host of our highly successful inaugural Gender Trailblazer event in 2014, Dr. Elizabeth Riley.
Thank you, Calpernia. That was a stunning performance. You know, just the voice and the strings. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Welcome to Trailblazers. We are truly delighted that you've come and joined us, and we're aware of the substantial contributions and your recognition. I just want to list some of those. Calpernia, you're the recipient of the Peabody Award, the GLAD Media Award, the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force Leadership Award, and your consultation to Jared Leto performing as Rayon in the Dallas Buyers Club helped him win an Oscar. And I just want to show you, here is Jared at the Oscars.
And the Oscar goes to Jared Leto.
To all the dreamers out there around the world watching this tonight, we are here, and as you struggle to make your dreams happen, to live the impossible, we're thinking of you tonight. And this is incredibly special as well, because there's so many people that helped me get here, and I just want to say thank you to Focus Features, to Mick Sullivan, to Jim Toth, to Jason Weinberg, to Emma Ludbrick, to Callie Addams, to the entire Dallas Buyers Club. Team Matthew, I love you, Jean-Marc, and this is for the 36 million people who have lost the battle to AIDS, and to those of you out there who have ever felt injustice because of who you are or who you love. Tonight, I stand here in front of the world with you and for you. Thank you so much.
Calpernia Calpernia, you were also instrumental in the trans-only sellout performance of Vagina Monologues in the New Orleans Superdome under the guidance of Jane Fonda, while raising money for fighting violence against women and girls. We've now got a clip of Vagina Monologues.
We shed the protection of anonymity, the quiet of stealth, and the peace of secret lies to stand up and claim our place, to add our voices and show that women's issues are our issues too.
The transsexual moan. Oh, God, I waited a long time for this.
At 5 years old, I was putting my baby sister's diapers on and I saw her vagina. I wanted one. I thought it would grow.
I wondered why I was missing my bathing suit top at the beach. Why I wasn't dressed like the other girls. I ached to be completed. I ached to belong. To twirl the baton.
They beat me for it. They beat me for crying. They pummeled me for wanting to touch,
To pet.
To hug.
to help, to hold their hands, for trying to fly in church like Sister Betrayal.
They kicked me every day on my way to school.
In the park, they smashed my magic marker painted nails.
They punched my lipsticked mouth. They beat the girl out of my boy. Or so they tried.
My mother was worried what people would think of her, that she made this happen. Until I came to church, and everyone said, "You have a beautiful daughter."
We're going to talk a bit more about that later. But for now, Callie, I just want to ask you, how is it to be in Australia? You've had an amazing and what looked to me like an exhausting schedule. How are you going?
Wow, well, I mean, Australia is so beautiful and so energizing, and everybody has been so awesome to me that, like, I'm totally pumped up. I'm loving it, every minute of it. Thank you.
Oh, delightful. So, Callie, I'd like to start at the beginning, your childhood. In your book, Mark 947, and I had a copy in my hand and I've left it somewhere, never mind. You describe your childhood with fondness, horror, disbelief, and a very real fear of fire and damnation. You point out that there were no dances, no movies, no Saturday nights, no roller skating, no parties, or even swimming for your children in the family. On page 67, you wrote, "I look back at those years and see a child, silent, desperate and ignorant, labouring to live a life for which there was no heart." I was wondering, how do you see those years now from the perspective of 2015?
Well, goodness, I grew up in a Southern fundamentalist Pentecostal Christian cult, and people laugh when I say cult, but it actually was, you know, modern movies and music, and we were forbidden to participate in most of the modern world, and I look back at that and I try to find the good in it. You know, it kept me away from abusing drugs and alcohol and things like that, but it was very isolating, and it's only been in these last years. Yesterday I turned 44 years old. Oh God. But you know, it's only with the wisdom of time that I can look back and begin to forgive, because I felt like it really isolated me, and I have to look for the good in it now and just try to forgive.
And move forward who you are now, as you are now, which you've had to do a number of times in your life.
You know, like a lot of trans people, I hit the ground running, caught up where I could, and faked the rest.
So look, given your experiences as a young person growing up in that difficult environment, do you think your past prepared you in any way for the challenges ahead?
Oh gosh. We were so sheltered growing up, you know, so very sheltered. But I just had this innate thing where even when I wanted to stop, even when I was tired or felt completely beaten down, it's like I've been on this runaway train that I can't get off of. So even when I was just like, oh God, I can't take one more thing, somehow, you know, I just kept going forward. And I don't know if that's from my childhood or just some innate thing, you know, maybe whatever the trans gene is, there's also a gene to be a little bit extra strong, because I think we have to be.
So you had that internal drive from a very, very young age.
Yeah, just the inability to give up, you know, I was never that much stronger than anybody else, but I just couldn't give up.
I'd like to discuss the movie Soldier's Girl, but first, so people understand the background, I'd like to show a few minutes of Middlesexes, the HBO documentary, where you describe what happened.
We bring out a certain fear in some people.
Biology loves variation. Society hates it.
We in the West have a lot to learn from transgendered people.
The violence against our community of transgender women tends to be really just over the top and angry and horrible. Usually a transgender woman is not just punched or beaten up or even just murdered with a gunshot. There are transgender women who are shot with machine guns until they're just pieces of meat, until they're unrecognizable. There are women who are stabbed 30, 40, 50 times and then set on fire. If you can just imagine physically the time it would take to stab someone 40 times.
An everyday scene. 4 friends out for lunch. On the surface, nothing remarkable. Nothing to suggest that 2 of these women are at risk, and never more so should they fall in love.
In 1999, I met a soldier named Barry who was able to see me as the woman I am and who loved me for the I am. At a certain point, his fellow soldiers discovered that the girlfriend that he talked about so much was a transsexual. You know, they discovered that I was transsexual. This all culminated in his murder on July 4th in 1999. They beat him to death with a baseball bat in his sleep.
We bring out a certain fear and a certain anger in some people who interact with us because suddenly they find themselves questioning themselves or worrying about how their response to us affects their identity. Suddenly something that they thought was a bedrock part of their identity has been challenged.
The ensuing court case regarding Barry's death thrust you into the public spotlight, and the story of this deeply severe tragedy was later made into the movie Soldier's Girl. How did the making of that movie come about, Calpurnia?
After Barry's murder, it was my number one drive to seek justice for him, but in the process of that, the U.S. media, of course, you know, seized on what they saw as the tabloid nature of our relationship. A lot of people came calling, interested in making a film of what happened, but I was caught up in my grief at the time, and I didn't want to talk to anybody about, you know, something so gross as making a movie out of it. One particular group, 2 female producers and a legendary Hollywood director, courted me for a year, and I told them, I do not want money for this. I don't want blood money. I don't want to be rich, from his death or anything like that. But if you can respectfully tell the story and lend credence to his parents' political fight, etc., I'll talk to you. And from that process, a legendary Hollywood director, Frank Pearson, ended up making the film. Ron Nyswaner, who wrote the American film Philadelphia about the AIDS crisis in the 80s, wrote the film. And they gathered some amazing actors, and it all just started coming together. And I'm proud of what they accomplished.
So did you have much input into the story?
I did. The film Soldier's Girl is actually very close to the truth, which is rare for a movie based on real events. But everyone involved was so focused on honoring Barry's memory. A lot of it is taken from my book, Mark 947, and it's just a very accurate depiction, except I did not live in a mobile home. They got up at the Southerners in a mobile home for whatever reason. And, you know, that's basically the only wrong thing.
Okay, old habits die hard when the stereotypes are there, don't they? I understand that you worked closely with Lee Pace, who played your role. How was that experience?
Lee Pace called me early in the process. I didn't know who he was. He had just graduated from Juilliard. He's since gone on. He's a mega star in the Lord of the Rings films and in a lot of Oscar-nominated roles. But I just heard this voice on the phone, and he's like, you know, hi, I'm Lee Pace. I'm going to be playing you in a film. This is, you know, this is years and years ago, before a lot of the political strides have been made. And I remember I said to him, oh gosh, you sound really nice. I was really afraid they were going to have some 6'3" man playing me in the film, and he was like, I'm 6'3". And I was like, but you know, it turned out in today's politics, I would have pushed back a lot harder, but at the time, Lee was a fresh Juilliard graduate. He threw his entire self into the role, and I think he really delivered something special on screen.
I read that the movie had an influence on Bill Clinton, who publicly regretted the don't ask, don't tell policy. Was that your experience, that there was some influence?
I'm a veteran myself, and I was in the military when President Clinton was elected, and he had promised to abolish the ban on gay and lesbian service members. He did not abolish it. Instead, he put the don't ask, don't tell policy in place, which later led, I think, to the environment that sort of was fertile for my boyfriend's murder. It was good to hear that afterward he apologized for the don't ask, don't tell policy, but you know, too little, too late. I am glad he did apologize, though.
Thank you.